3 days of silence. Then the buzzing woke me at 2 in the morning. Not the gentle vibration of a text message. The violent, relentless buzzing of a phone being absolutely destroyed by notifications. I grabbed it off the nightstand, squinting at the screen through sleep-blurred eyes. 50,000 notifications in the last hour. We'd been waiting 3 days for Yeon-hee to make her move. 3 days of tense silence since her release. I'd almost convinced myself she was regrouping, hiding, maybe even running. I should have known better. My heart stopped as I opened the notifications. Hundreds of people tagging me in the same video. The preview image made my blood run cold. Yeon-hee, on what looked like a professional news set, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, expression devastated. My thumb hit play before my brain could stop it. The video had 5 million views and climbing, posted 4 hours ago, primetime television on one of the major networks, and I'd been asleep through all of it. I just want my son to come home. Yeon-hee's voice cracked perfectly. Tears rolled down her cheeks on cue. Ji-woo is sick. He's been manipulated by these men when he was at his most vulnerable. They took advantage of a mentally unstable Omega and convinced him that his own mother, the woman who raised him, who loved him, was a monster. The news anchor nodded sympathetically. That must be incredibly painful for you. You have no idea. Yeon-hee dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. I've stayed silent because I didn't want to make things worse. But watching my son destroy his life, watching him be used by people with their own agenda, I can't stay quiet anymore. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only watch as my stepmother performed the role of grieving mother so convincingly that even I almost believed her for a second. The evidence they claimed to have against me? Fabricated. All of it. These men are experienced investigators. They know how to manipulate documents, how to create convincing lies. And they found the perfect victim in my Ji-woo. Someone who was already struggling, already vulnerable, already searching for someone to blame for his pain. The anchor leaned forward. You're saying the Kim brothers manufactured evidence? I'm saying they saw an opportunity and they took it. Yeon-hee's voice strengthened, righteous and certain. A sick Omega with an inheritance. A family name they could destroy. A story dramatic enough to go viral. They played him like an instrument, and now my son actually believes their lies. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I scrolled to the comments. 20,000 and growing. Half my followers were there defending me, fighting, arguing. But the other half, she seems really genuine. I mean, the timing is suspicious. How convenient that he remembers abuse right when he meets these alphas. Forced bonding is a real thing. Maybe he doesn't even know he's being manipulated. That poor mother. You can see the pain in her eyes. I checked the timestamp again. 4 hours. This had been spreading for 4 hours while I slept. Her narrative infecting every platform, every comment section, every news outlet. My follower count was dropping. Not dramatically, but steadily. Tick, tick, tick. People leaving because doubt was easier than faith. Partnership emails filled my inbox. Brands pulling offers, given the recent controversy. Until the situation is clarified. We need to protect our image. The bond suddenly flared. Daehyun woke first, then Jaehyun. Both of them felt my panic before they were fully conscious. What's wrong? Daehyun's voice was rough with sleep. I couldn't speak. Just handed him my phone. He watched 30 seconds of the interview. His expression went from confused to furious. He passed the phone to Jaehyun without a word. She waited until we were sleeping, Jaehyun said, his voice deadly calm. Timed the release perfectly. Let it spread for hours before we could respond. I finally found my voice. Check the news sites. Daehyun pulled out his laptop. We watched the search results load together. Every major outlet had picked up the story. Concerned mother speaks out about missing son. Questions raised about Omega influencers' abuse claims. Park Yeon-hee breaks silence. I just want him home. They weren't even questioning her story. They were running with it as truth. My truth, the one I'd fought so hard to tell, was being rewritten in real time. I have to respond, I said. The words came out stronger than I felt. Now, Right now, before this becomes the accepted version. Ji-woo! Daehyun started. No! I was already getting out of bed, grabbing my phone and ring light. She counted on me waiting until morning, counted on me being too tired, too emotional, too careful. That's how she wins. She moves and I hesitate. Jaehyun exchanged a look with Daehyun. Something passed between them through their twin connection. Then they both got up. Then we do this now, Daehyun said. I set up my phone on the nightstand. 3 in the morning, hair messy, eyes tired and probably red from the tears I hadn't realized I was crying, wearing the same sleep pants and t-shirt I'd gone to bed in. No makeup, no script, no performance, just truth. The twins positioned themselves in the background, close enough to be visible, far enough to let this be my moment. I opened my streaming app. 60,000 people were already online, waiting. They'd seen the interview too. They were waiting for me to respond, to defend myself, to prove Yeon-hee wrong. I took a deep breath. My finger hovered over the Go Live button. Here we go, I whispered. Then I heard the sirens. Red and blue lights flooded through the bedroom windows. Multiple vehicles. The sound of car doors slamming, heavy boots on gravel. Daehyun's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and went completely still. What? I asked. He turned the phone toward me. Official notification, legal document. The words blurred together, but 3 stood out with horrible clarity. Arrest warrant, Omega trafficking, both suspects. Jaehyun grabbed his own phone. His jaw clenched as he read the same message. Heavy pounding shook the front door downstairs. Kim Daehyun, Kim Jaehyun, this is Massachusetts PAC enforcement. We have a warrant for your arrest. Open the door. Daehyun looked at me. His face was pale, but his voice stayed steady. We have 10 minutes before they break down the door. 10 minutes felt like 10 seconds. We surrender peacefully, Daehyun said, already moving toward the stairs. We have a lawyer on standby. This is temporary. My voice came out small. What happens to me? Jaehyun stopped at the bedroom door. You stay here. You're safe. Don't say anything without a lawyer present. Don't go live. Don't respond to Yeon-hee. Just wait for our call. Then they were gone. Footsteps thundering down the stairs. The front door opening. Voices outside. Official, cold, reading rights. I stood alone in our bedroom. Phone still set up on the nightstand. Ring light glowing. 60,000 people still waiting in the stream lobby for me to go live. The twins were surrendering, following the law, trusting the system. But the system was run by people Yeon-hee owned. My finger hit the Go Live button before I could talk myself out of it. The viewer count exploded. 60,000 became 80, 90, 100,000 in seconds. The chat erupted. Where have you been? What's happening? Is that sirens? I took a breath, steadied my shaking hands, looked directly at the camera. My name is Park Ji-woo. 3 days ago, my stepmother was released from custody through corruption and connections. Tonight, she went on national television and called me a victim of manipulation. And right now, police are at my door arresting the men who saved my life. You're about to watch it happen in real time. I grabbed my phone off the tripod and moved to the window. The stream came with me, 150,000 people watching as I pointed the camera outside. Red and blue lights bathe everything in strobing color. 4 enforcement vehicles, 8 officers. Daehyun and Jaehyun standing on the front lawn with their hands behind their backs, being cuffed with practiced efficiency. This is what corruption looks like, I said into the camera. My voice was steadier than I felt. My stepmother spent decades building connections. Judges, council members, police. She called in every favor to get herself released and to destroy the people who exposed her crimes. And this is how the system protects its own. Daehyun looked up, saw me in the window with my phone. His expression shifted from resignation to something close to panic. He shook his head slightly. No, don't. I kept filming. The bedroom door burst open behind me. An officer, young, male, following orders, strode in and pointed at my phone. End the stream. Now. No. I turned the camera toward him. 200,000 viewers now. Everyone's watching. You can arrest them, but you can't silence me. Sir, I'm ordering you to... I'm not doing anything illegal. This is my home, my phone, my story. He reached for the phone. I jerked back. The stream tilted wildly, showing ceiling, wall, floor. Then his hand closed around it, and the screen went black. The last thing 200,000 people saw was an officer forcibly ending my broadcast. Perfect. Downstairs, he said. Now. I followed him down to the living room. Through the window, I watched them load Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun into separate vehicles. The bond stretched thin and painful as the distance grew. I could still feel them. Their anger, their fear for me, their frustration at their own helplessness. But it was fading. The cars pulled away. My mates disappeared into the night. Two officers remained, both older, both wearing expressions that said they'd done this 1,000 times and felt nothing about it anymore. Sit, the taller one said, gesturing to the couch. I sat. He placed a recording device on the coffee table between us. We need to ask you some questions about your relationship with Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun Kim. I want a lawyer. You're not under arrest. You're a witness. We just need your statement. Then I don't have to talk to you. You don't, the shorter officer said. His voice was almost kind. But we're trying to help you. If you were coerced, if they manipulated you, we need to know. This is your chance to tell the truth. The truth. Like they'd recognize it if I gave it to them. But I was tired, scared, alone. And maybe some small, stupid part of me thought, if I just explained it clearly enough, they'd understand. What do you want to know? I asked. The tall officer started the recording. Tell us how you met the Kim brothers, I explained. The disposal ceremony, the transfer, how they'd been kind when I expected cruelty. So they took custody of you against your will? No. My stepmother gave me to them. I didn't have a choice about that. But staying with them was my choice. He wrote something down. You stayed because you wanted to. Yes. But you were sick at the time, correct? Withdrawing from suppressants? Mentally and physically vulnerable? I was sick, but I wasn't. And during this vulnerable period, they initiated a mate bond? No, the bond was mutual. I wanted it. Did you understand what you were agreeing to? The permanent nature of bonding? My throat tightened. Yes. You're certain they didn't pressure you? Take advantage of your condition? I'm certain. But even as I said it, I heard how it sounded. Sick omega. Powerful alphas. Fast bond. Every true thing I said could be twisted into proof of coercion. The shorter officer leaned forward. Did the Kim brothers ever prevent you from leaving the residence? No. I could leave whenever I wanted. But did you leave? No, because I didn't want to. So you remained isolated with them. I wasn't isolated. I had my phone, my platform. I talked to thousands of people every day. Did they control your social media accounts? No, those were mine. Did they have access to your inheritance? They helped me claim it, but so they had access to your money? They helped me set up a victim fund. They didn't take anything. More notes, more recording. Every answer I gave felt like digging the twins deeper into a hole I couldn't see the bottom of. Let's talk about the bond itself, the tall officer said. When did it occur? About 3 months ago. And you were how long removed from your stepmother's custody at that point? Maybe a week. 1 week. And in that week, you went from accusing your stepmother of abuse to bonding with the men who claimed to be investigating her. Does that timeline seem rushed to you? No. The bond it's not something you choose the timing of. It just happens when it's right, or when someone makes it happen. That's not what... Did you want the bond? The tall officer interrupted. Or did they pressure you into it when you were too sick to properly consent? I opened my mouth, closed it. Any answer would condemn them. Yes, I wanted it, but I was sick and vulnerable. No, they didn't pressure me, but the bond happened fast. The officer's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, stood up. Interview's over. He clicked off the recording device. You're coming with us. Where? Protective custody, counsel's orders. You can't stay here alone. I'm not going anywhere. It's not a request. The shorter officer stood too, almost apologetic. The council has determined you're in potential danger. Until the bond dissolution hearing tomorrow, you're under our supervision. Bond dissolution hearing. Tomorrow. The words hit like ice water. They're not dissolving our bond, I said. That's for the council to decide. They weren't arresting me, but they were taking me anyway. They weren't arresting me, but they were taking me anyway. Get your things, the taller officer said. We're leaving now. My mind raced. Once they got me into protective custody, I'd be silenced. No phone, no platform, no way to fight back until the hearing tomorrow. And by then, Yun-hee's narrative would be the only one anyone believed. I need to pack a bag, I said. Change clothes, I can't go in pajamas. The officers exchanged glances. The shorter one nodded. 5 minutes, upstairs. We'll wait here. I took the stairs 2 at a time. My hands shook as I grabbed a backpack from the closet, threw in my phone charger, a jacket, anything my brain told me I might need. But mostly I was stalling, thinking, trying to figure out how to get out of this. The twins were in custody. I was alone. And in about 4 minutes, these officers were going to take me somewhere I couldn't reach anyone. A doorbell rang downstairs. I froze, listened. Who is it? The tall officer called. Through the door. A woman's voice answered, sharp, authoritative. Attorney Sarah Chen, I'm here for my client, Park Ji-woo. My heart jumped. A lawyer. But whose? The twins? Yun-hee's? We're in the middle of an official procedure, the officer said through the still-closed door. You need to leave. Open this door right now or I'm calling the State Attorney General and reporting obstruction of legal counsel. A pause, then the sound of the lock turning. I crept to the top of the stairs, stayed out of sight but close enough to hear. A woman in an expensive charcoal suit stepped inside. Asian, mid-40s, carrying a leather briefcase like it was a weapon. Her eyes swept the room and landed on the officers with the kind of look that made grown men flinch. Where is Park Ji-woo? She demanded. Upstairs, the shorter officer said. We're taking him into protective custody under council orders. Show me the order. We have verbal authorization. Verbal authorization isn't worth the air it's spoken with. Show me a signed document from a council member with proper jurisdiction or get out of my client's home. The tall officer's jaw clenched. The council will have official orders within the hour. Then come back with them. Chen didn't move from the doorway. Until you have proper documentation, you're trespassing on private property and interfering with my client's legal representation. Ma'am, we're just trying to ensure the Omega's safety. The Omega has a name, he has rights, and he has a lawyer. Me. Now leave. The officers looked at each other. The tall one pulled out his phone and walked to the far corner of the room. I heard him talking in low, urgent tones to whoever was on the other end. Chen stood perfectly still, waiting, not backing down an inch. After 2 minutes of hushed argument, the officer hung up. His expression was tight with barely controlled frustration. We'll be back with the proper paperwork, he said. I'll be here to review it. Chen smiled. It wasn't friendly. The officers left. The door closed behind them. Chen flipped the deadbolt and turned to look directly at where I was hiding at the top of the stairs. You can come down now, Ji-woo. I descended slowly. Who are you? Your lawyer. The twins put me on retainer 3 months ago. She checked her watch. And we have approximately 35 minutes before those officers return. With official orders, I won't be able to fight. 3 months ago? My brain was still catching up. They knew this would happen? They anticipated your stepmother would eventually strike back. Had me ready. She walked to the window, checked the street. But right now we need to move. Once they come back with signed orders, I can't legally prevent them from taking you into custody. Where would we go? Safe house, secure location where the council can't reach you until the bond dissolution hearing tomorrow morning. She turned from the window. But we leave now, or we don't leave at all. I looked around the house, the twins' house, our house, the first place I'd ever felt safe. Leaving felt like surrendering. If I run, it looks like I'm guilty. If you stay, you lose your voice. They'll isolate you, control the narrative. By tomorrow's hearing, you'll be walking in having been silenced for 12 hours, while Yun-hee talks to every news outlet in the country. Chen's expression softened slightly. The twins sent me to protect you. Let me do that. I thought about Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun sitting in separate cells, about how they'd trusted the system to work, trusted that truth would win. And where had that gotten them? Maybe it was time to stop playing by rules designed to make me lose. Okay, I said, let's go. I ran back upstairs, grabbed my phone, charger, a jacket, checked that my follower count was still there, still real. 400,000 people who'd watched my journey, my platform, my voice. Chen was already in the driveway when I got outside. Black sedan, engine running. I threw myself into the passenger seat. She backed out fast. The tires squealed slightly on the pavement. Then we were moving, away from the house, away from the officers who'd be back any minute. I watched the house disappear in the side mirror. Empty, dark, waiting. We drove in silence for 5 minutes. 10. The neighborhoods changed from residential to commercial to highway. Chen drove with the confidence of someone who'd planned this route. How did you know to come? I asked. The twins sent an alert the moment they were arrested. Automated system. I came straight from my office. They really planned for this. Everything you'll need for tomorrow's hearing as well. She merged onto the highway. They knew Yan He would come after them eventually. They just didn't know when. For the first time since the notifications woke me, I felt something close to hope. The twins hadn't been caught off guard. They'd been ready, and now I had a lawyer, a safe place, a chance to fight back tomorrow. Chen's phone buzzed in the cup holder. She glanced at it. Her expression changed. What? I asked. She didn't answer immediately, just read whatever was on the screen. Then she looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my stomach drop. They just issued an emergency warrant for your location, she said quietly. They're tracking your phone. I looked down at the phone in my hand, the device I'd used to build my platform, to reach 400,000 people, to tell my truth when no one else would listen. The thing that had been my greatest weapon had just become the leash that would drag me back. The phone in my hand felt like a bomb. They're tracking me through this? I stared at the screen. My screen. The tool I'd used to reach hundreds of thousands of people. The platform that had given me a voice when Yun He tried to steal it. Yes. Chen's eyes stayed on the road. We need to turn it off, now. This is my only connection to my followers. My platform, everything. It's also a beacon leading them straight to us. She glanced at me. Every second it's on, they're triangulating our position. Make a choice. But I couldn't. Not yet. My thumb moved across the screen almost on autopilot, opening notifications. The numbers made my breath catch. 10 million views. My live stream of the twins' arrest had hit 10 million views. Both hashtags were trending globally. Not just one side, both. Free the Kims and protect Ji Woo. The internet had fractured into two armies, and they were going to war over my life. The comments scrolled past faster than I could read them. He's clearly being held against his will. No, he's clearly defending the people he loves. This is what brainwashing looks like. This is what corruption looks like. They were organizing, planning protests, demanding the council live stream tomorrow's hearing, calling news stations, making noise that couldn't be ignored. I'd started something. Even offline, even running, even scared. I'd started a movement that was growing without me. Ji Woo, Chen's voice was sharp. Now! My finger hovered over the power button. 14 hours. That's how long until the hearing. 14 hours of silence while Yun He talked to every outlet that would listen. 14 hours of my followers wondering where I went, if I was okay, if I'd abandoned them. But 14 hours of freedom to make it to that hearing. I pressed the button, held it down, watched the screen go dark. The silence in the car felt suffocating. How long? I asked. Until the hearing? 14 hours. I'd never gone 14 hours without checking my phone in 3 months. Not since I'd posted that first picture. Not since I'd found my voice. Now I was voluntarily giving it up. Chen drove for another 20 minutes. The highway gave way to city streets, then residential neighborhoods I didn't recognize. Finally, she pulled into the underground garage of a nondescript apartment building. We're here. She killed the engine. Top floor. No one knows about this location except me and the twins. The apartment was small, clean, anonymous. 2 bedrooms with basic furniture. A kitchen stocked with food no one had cooked. It looked like a place designed for people who needed to disappear. You'll stay here until morning, Chen said. setting her briefcase on the counter. I'll pick you up at 7. The hearing starts at 9, but we need time to prepare. You're leaving? I have 14 hours to finalize your defense. I need to work. She pulled out a business card, wrote a number on the back. This is my personal cell. Landline is on the counter. Emergency only. Don't turn on your phone. Don't go outside. Don't open the door for anyone except me. Then she was gone. The door clicked shut. The deadbolt engaged. I stood in the middle of the living room and felt more alone than I had in months. The bond ached in my chest, stretched thin and painful from the distance. But I could still feel them. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun, somewhere across the city in separate cells, awake, worried, trying to send comfort through the connection even though they needed it themselves. I tried to send it back. I'm okay. I'm safe. We'll fix this tomorrow. I didn't know if they could feel it. The bond wasn't telepathy, just awareness, emotion, presence. But I hoped they knew I was thinking about them. The apartment had a TV. I turned it on, flipped through news channels. Every single one was covering the story. Yeon-hee's interview played on loop, her tears, her devastated mother act. Then footage of the twins being arrested. Then my face, screenshots from my streams, from my viral post, from the testimony I'd given 3 months ago. They were dissecting my life in real time. Experts weighing in on forced bonding, psychologists analyzing my body language, former Omegas sharing their own stories of manipulation. Some defended me, some condemned me. All of them talked about me like I wasn't a real person, just a case study, a cautionary tale, a controversy. I turned it off. The silence was worse, but at least it was honest. I tried to sleep, lay in the unfamiliar bed and stared at the ceiling and failed completely. Too much adrenaline, too much fear, too much of everything. At 3 a.m., I gave up and sat in the living room. My dead phone sat on the coffee table. Mocking me, I could turn it on, just for a second, see what people were saying, connect with my followers, tell them I was okay, but they'd find me, and I'd lose everything. So I sat in the dark and waited for morning. At 6 a.m., I showered, put on the formal clothes Chen had left hanging in the closet, black suit, white shirt. Tie, I had to look up how to knot using the apartment's ancient desktop computer. I looked in the bathroom mirror. The face looking back was exhausted, scared. The birthmark stood out darker against pale skin. The bond marks on my neck were visible above the shirt collar. I looked like someone who hadn't slept, someone who was about to walk into the fight of his life. At exactly 7 a.m., Chen knocked. I grabbed my dead phone out of habit, left the apartment that had been my cage for 14 hours. In the car, Chen briefed me. What to expect, how to answer questions, what the council would try to prove. The twins have counter-evidence, she said. Video documentation of you consenting to the bond. Clear, coherent, no signs of coercion. A federal judge has it sealed. We'll present it during the hearing. Will it be enough? It should be. But with Yeon-hee's connections, nothing's guaranteed. The courthouse came into view. My stomach dropped. Hundreds of people surrounded the building. Protesters holding signs, media vans, cameras, police keeping the crowds back from the entrance. Half the signs read, "Free the Kims." The other half read, "Protect Jiwoo from his abusers." They were fighting over me, over my life, over a truth only I knew. Chen led me through a side entrance. Questions shouted from every direction, cameras flashing. I kept my head down and followed her inside. The interior was quiet, sterile, official. Our footsteps echoed on marble floors. They'll bring the twins from custody, Chen said. You'll see them in the hearing room. She opened the doors. The room was formal, a long table on one side for the council members. Chairs arranged in rows. Everything designed to make you feel small and powerless. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun sat at a table on the left, handcuffed, exhausted, looking like they'd had the same sleepless night I had. Our eyes met. The bond surged so strongly I almost gasped. Desperate, relieved, terrified. Then I saw who sat on the right side of the room. Yeon-hee, hair perfect, makeup flawless, wearing a tailored dress that probably cost more than everything I owned. She looked rested, prepared, confident. She smiled at me. That same smile she'd given me for 24 years. The one that said she knew exactly how this would end. 14 hours offline while she'd controlled every narrative. 14 hours running and hiding like the broken, worthless Omega she'd always told me I was. And now we were here, in this room, where she tried to take away the only people who'd ever made me feel like I was worth saving. The council members entered like judges at an execution. 5 of them, all wearing formal robes, all with expressions that said they'd already made their decision before walking through the door. The head council member, a man in his 60s with silver hair and cold eyes, took the center seat. This hearing will now come to order. His voice echoed in the too quiet room. Bond dissolution case, Park Ji-woo versus Kim Dae-hyun and Kim Jae-hyun. The council will hear arguments regarding the legitimacy of the mate bond formed 3 months ago. Yeon-hee's lawyer stood. Expensive suit, confident smile. He placed a folder on the table in front of the council. The timeline speaks for itself, Your Honors. Park Ji-woo was removed from his family home and placed in the custody of the Kim brothers. Within 7 days, while recovering from 24 years of suppressant use, while physically ill and mentally vulnerable, he was bonded to both alphas. The speed alone suggests coercion. He gestured to a man in the back row. Dr. Richard Chen is a licensed psychiatrist specializing in forced bonding cases. He's reviewed Mr. Park's case and concluded this shows textbook signs of coerced bonding syndrome. The psychiatrist stood, spoke for 3 minutes about vulnerability and manipulation and how trauma victims often can't recognize when they're being controlled. Every word was a knife. I sat beside Attorney Chen and felt my defense crumbling before it even started. Your Honors, Chen stood, her voice sharp and clear. We have counter evidence. Video documentation sealed with a federal judge showing my client giving clear, coherent consent to this bond. I move to present it now. She pulled out a tablet, started to set it up. Relief flooded through me. The video, the proof. Everything would be okay once they saw it. Yeon-hee's lawyer was on his feet instantly. Objection. That evidence was never properly disclosed. Chain of custody is questionable. We move to exclude it on procedural grounds. The council members leaned together, whispered. I watched their faces and felt hope dying. Motion granted, the head council member said. The video evidence is inadmissible due to improper disclosure timeline. That's our entire defense. Chen's composure cracked. Your Honors, this is the proof of consent. Do you have other evidence, counselor? Silence, because we didn't. Everything had relied on that video. Then you have no defense. The head council member looked at me. Does the Omega wish to testify on his own behalf? Chen grabbed my arm. Don't. Anything you say will be twisted. But I was already standing, already walking to the witness chair. If they wouldn't let the video speak for me, I'd speak for myself. State your name for the record. Park Ji-woo. Mr. Park, did you consent to the bond with the Kim brothers? Yes, completely. I was coherent. I knew what I was doing. I wanted them. Yeon-hee's lawyer stood for cross-examination. His smile made my skin crawl. Mr. Park, were you on any medication at the time of bonding? I was recovering from... Yes or no? Yes. Were you physically ill? I was healing. Yes or no? Yes. Had you experienced severe trauma in the weeks prior? My throat tightened. Yes. So you admit you were medicated, physically ill, and traumatized when this bond occurred? I was healing, not impaired. But you weren't in your normal state of mind, were you? Every answer was a trap. Every truth became evidence against us. No further questions. He sat down looking satisfied. Then Yeon-hee took the stand. She was perfect. Every tear timed precisely. Every word delivered with just the right amount of pain. She talked about watching her son fall under the influence of manipulative men, about how she'd tried to protect me my whole life, about how she just wanted me home and safe. The council members ate it up. I watched them nodding, believing, buying every lie she sold. The head council member called for deliberation. The 5 of them leaned together and whispered for maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes to decide my entire life. When they sat back, I already knew, could feel it through the bond. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun felt it too. The connection between us pulled taut with panic. Based on the evidence presented, the head council member said, we find that the bond between Park Ji-woo and Kim Da-hyun and Kim Jae-hyun was formed under questionable circumstances. The Omega was vulnerable, recently traumatized, and bonded with unusual speed to his appointed guardians. No, I whispered. For the Omega's protection and well-being, we hereby order the immediate dissolution of this bond. No! I was on my feet. You can't do this. I chose them. This is my life. Chen grabbed my arm, pulling me back. Guards moved toward the twins. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun were both standing, fighting against their restraints. Don't do this, Dae-hyun said, his voice desperate. He's telling the truth. He chose us. The ruling stands. The head council member produced something from beneath his robe. A blade. Silver. Ornate. Ancient. My blood turned to ice. Bond dissolution under PAC law requires physical severing, he said. Bring the Omega forward. This is barbaric, Chen shouted. You can't force this procedure. PAC law supersedes personal preference when the council determines an Omega's safety is at risk. He looked at the guards. Restrain him. 2 guards moved toward me. I backed away. Chen tried to block them, but they pushed past her easily. Don't touch him, Jae-hyun's voice cracked. He was fighting so hard against his restraints that blood appeared where the metal cut into his wrists. The bond between us was screaming, pain and terror and desperate, helpless rage flooding through the connection from both twins. The guards grabbed my arms. I fought, kicked, tried to break free, but they were trained for this. Strong. They dragged me toward the council table where that silver blade waited. Please, I begged, please don't do this. Yeonhee watched from her seat with the same satisfied smile. The head council member stood, moved around the table toward me. The blade caught the fluorescent light and threw silver reflections across the walls. The bond marks, he said to the guards. Expose them. They ripped open my collar. The twin marks on either side of my neck, Dae-hyun's on the left, Jae-hyun's on the right, were visible, permanent, part of me. Hold him down. The guards forced me into a chair. One held my shoulders. The other tilted my head back, exposing my throat. Through the bond, I felt Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun's anguish, felt them trying to reach me, felt them breaking apart because they couldn't protect me from this. The council member raised the blade, started speaking words in a language I didn't understand. Ancient pack ritual, the metal, moved toward my neck. I looked at my mates one last time, memorized their faces, tried to send everything I felt through the bond before it was gone forever. The blade touched my skin above Dae-hyun's mark, and I realized with perfect, horrible clarity that Yeonhee had spent 24 years breaking me down just so I'd be too weak to fight back when she took away the only people who'd ever made me whole. The blade touched my skin, and Attorney Chen pulled a gun. The movement was so fast I almost missed it. 1 second she was sitting at our table, face composed and professional. The next she was standing with a weapon aimed directly at the head council member's chest. Step away from him, she said. Her voice had changed. Colder, harder, nothing like the lawyer who'd rescued me hours ago. Now! The room froze. Guards reached for their weapons. Chen didn't flinch. Don't, she said. My people already have this building surrounded. You pull those guns and this gets messy for everyone. The courtroom doors burst open. Men in tactical gear flooded in. Not police, not federal agents. Something else entirely. They moved with military precision, weapons raised, fanning out to control every exit. Through the windows I saw more. Armed men in formation outside, positions on the steps, blocking the entrances. The entire courthouse was surrounded. What is this? The head counsel? Members' hands shook on the ceremonial blade. This is illegal? Chen smiled without warmth. So is what you just attempted. Dae-hyun's voice cut through my shock. Quiet, meant only for me. Trust her. This was always the backup. I looked at him, at Jae-hyun. Neither of them looked surprised. They'd known, planned this. While I'd been terrified and running, they'd been 3 steps ahead. 2 of Chen's men moved to the twins, cut their handcuffs with bolt cutters. The metal clattered to the floor. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun were on their feet instantly, crossing the room to me. Their hands found my shoulders, pulled me away from the council table, away from that silver blade that had been seconds from destroying everything. "You're okay," Daehyun said. His voice was rough. "You're safe." Yeonhee stood up. "You can't do this. I have connections. The council will—" "The council," Chen interrupted, "just tried to forcibly sever a legitimate bond based on your bribes. I don't think they're in a position to do much of anything right now." She turned to us. "We're leaving. Now." Her team formed around us. Professional, efficient. They moved us toward the exit like we were heads of state instead of fugitives. The guards in the courtroom didn't try to stop us. Not with automatic weapons pointed at them. We walked through the courthouse halls. Every step felt surreal, like I was watching this happen to someone else. Outside, chaos waited. The courthouse steps were swarmed. Hundreds of cameras, thousands of people. Protesters with signs. Police cars arriving but staying back, blocked by Chen's armed perimeter. The noise hit me like a wave. Chen stopped at the top of the steps, turned to face the crowd, the cameras, the world. "My name is Sarah Chen," she said, her voice carried, strong and clear. "I represent the Kim brothers and Park Ji-woo." The crowd quieted, waiting. Every camera pointed at her. "What you're witnessing is the failure of a corrupt system. Inside this courthouse, a council attempted to forcibly dissolve a legitimate bond. Not because it was coerced, because Park Yeon-hee paid them to rule that way." Gasps, shouts. The media erupted with questions. Chen spoke over them. Every legal channel was compromised, every judge, every official. Yeon-hee's corruption runs so deep that the only way to protect my clients was to remove them from the system entirely. She looked directly into the cameras, into the faces of the protesters, into the lens that would carry her words to millions. "I'm asking Park Ji-woo's followers to trust him, the people who've watched his journey, who've seen his truth. What he told you was real. What his stepmother claims is lies. Don't let them bury that truth just because we're leaving." My throat tightened. She was speaking for me, to my followers, to the people who'd believe me when no one else would. Chen turned back to us. Her expression shifted, urgent. "We need to move. They'll have response teams here in minutes." Then her eyes landed on my hand, on the phone I was still holding. "The phone," she said. "They're tracking it. Get rid of it. Now." I looked down, the device I'd used to build everything, to reach 370,000 people, to tell my story when the world tried to silence me, my platform, my voice, my only way to fight back. "Ji-woo." Daehyun's hand covered mine. "It's over. You have to let it go." But it wasn't just a phone. It was proof that I mattered, that people heard me, that I'd stopped being invisible. "If you keep it, they'll find us in an hour," Chen said. "Your choice, the phone or your mates." Not really a choice at all. I looked at the screen one last time. Notifications still flooding in. Messages from followers asking if I was okay, demanding answers, believing in me. Then I dropped it, watched it clatter across the stone steps. The screen cracked, but it was still lit, still connected, still broadcasting. My location to whoever was looking. I walked away from it. Chen's team moved us toward waiting SUVs. Black, armored, engines already running. The armed men formed a corridor, keeping the crowd and cameras back. I climbed into the back seat. Daehyun on one side, Jaehyun on the other, Chen in the front passenger seat. The doors slammed shut. Bulletproof glass separated us from the chaos outside. The driver pulled away from the courthouse. Fast but controlled. No sirens followed. Not yet. Chen's people were still holding the perimeter, buying us time. I turned to look through the rear window. The courthouse got smaller. The crowd swarmed the steps. Someone picked up my phone, held it up. The cameras caught it. The image of my abandoned device would be everywhere in minutes. "How long do we have?" Jae-hyun asked. "Maybe an hour," Chen said. "They'll track the phone to the courthouse. Takes time to realize you're not there. By then we'll be gone." "Gone where?" I asked. "Safe. House. Out of state. We move every few hours until things settle." Things settle. Like this was something that could settle. Like we hadn't just staged an armed takeover of a courthouse. Like I hadn't just thrown away my entire platform to escape. The bond hummed between us, strong, intact, unsevered. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun on either side of me, close enough to touch. That's what mattered. That's what I'd chosen. But Chen's words to my followers echoed in my head. Trust him, like they had a choice. Like they'd remember my name tomorrow when I was gone, and Yeon-hee was still there, still talking, still spinning her lies to anyone who'd listen. I'd fought so hard to have a voice, and now I'd thrown it away to keep the people I loved. The city blurred past the windows. We disappeared into traffic. Just another black SUV among thousands. Anonymous, invisible. The way I'd been my entire life before I'd found the courage to be seen. 12 hours without my voice felt like drowning in silence. I sat in the safe house living room, staring at my hands. No phone, no platform, no way to reach the 370,000 people who'd followed my journey. Somewhere out there, Yeon-hee was controlling the narrative. And I was trapped in a stranger's house 3 states away, powerless to fight back. The TV played on mute. News coverage of our courthouse extraction, armed men, dramatic rescue, the words Fugitive Omega scrolling across the bottom of every screen. I'd spent 3 months building a voice loud enough to matter, and I'd thrown it away in one moment to keep my bond. Worth it. I'd make the same choice again, but that didn't make the silence hurt less. The door opened. Chen walked in carrying a laptop. She looked at me, then at the muted TV. Stop watching that, she said. It doesn't matter anymore. How can it not matter? The whole world thinks. The whole world is about to think. Something very different. Chen set the laptop on the coffee table. Opened it. The people who got you out of that courthouse? They've been busy. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun moved closer. We all stared at the screen as Chen pulled up files. Dozens of them. PDF documents, audio files, spreadsheets. What is this? I asked. Justice. Chen clicked on the first document. A bank statement appeared. Your stepmother paid council member Richard Morrison $200,000 4 days ago. 4 days ago, right after she was released, while I was still believing she'd need time to regroup. Chen clicked another file. More transactions. Yeon-hee's accounts to various officials. Dates, amounts, all documented with clinical precision. Payments to the psychiatrist who testified, to her lawyer, to people whose names I didn't recognize but whose titles made my stomach turn. Judge, federal clerk, media consultant. How did you get these? My team isn't lawyers, Ji-woo. They're specialists. They handle problems that exist outside legal boundaries. She pulled up an audio file. Sometimes getting justice means breaking rules. She hit play. Yeon-hee's voice filled the room. Clear, unmistakable. I need the bond dissolved. I don't care how you do it. Rule it coerced. Rule him unstable. Just make sure those twins lose custody. Another voice responded, male, official sounding, one of the council members from the hearing. That'll cost you. Federal attention is on this case. I'll pay whatever it takes. 200,000 to you, another 200 to Morrison, 50 to the psychiatrist for his testimony. The recording continued. 5 minutes of Yeon-hee and the council member discussing exactly how to rig my hearing, what evidence to exclude, which expert to pay, how to make the dissolution look legitimate. Every detail of the conspiracy laid out in their own words. My hands were shaking. This is proof. Real proof. Yes. Chen closed that file, opened another. We have financial records, recorded calls, email correspondence. Everything showing she bought the counsel, paid the psychiatrist, manufactured the entire case. Then we take this to the FBI. We can't. Chen's expression was grim. This evidence was obtained illegally. Breaking and entering. Unauthorized access to private servers. Wiretapping without warrants. No court in the country would accept it. The hope building in my chest collapsed. So it's useless? I didn't say that. Chen's fingers moved across the keyboard. Courts can't use it, but the public can. And once the public sees it, the system will have to respond. She pulled up a new window. Email draft. 50 recipients. Every major news outlet in the country. The subject line read, Evidence of corruption in Park Ji-woo case. All the files were attached. The financial records, The audio, the emails, everything. We leak it, Chen said. Anonymously. Let the media verify it independently. Once it's public, Yan He can't bury it. I stared at the screen, at the send button. Is this right? Using evidence we got illegally? She used illegal corruption for 24 years, Jae-hyun said quietly. This just evens the field. The legal system failed you, Dae-hyun added. Every judge, every official. She bought them all. This is the only way left. Chen's cursor hovered over send. Your call, Jiwoo. Once I do this, there's no taking it back. The world will know, including how we got it. I thought about my followers, about the people who'd believed me, about every Omega Yan He had destroyed, and everyone she'd destroy in the future if no one stopped her. Do it, I said. Chen hit send. The email disappeared, 50 copies winging their way to newsrooms across the country. We sat in silence and staring at the TV, waiting. 3 minutes passed, 4, 5. Then the breaking news banner appeared. Breaking. Leaked documents suggest corruption in Omega custody. Case. The anchor's face was serious. Behind her, graphics displayed a bank statement. Yan He's name. Council member Morrison's name. $200,000. We've obtained documents showing financial transfers between Park Yan He and officials involved in her stepson's bond dissolution hearing. While we cannot verify how these documents were obtained, financial analysts confirm they match authentic banking records. Another channel picked it up, then another. Within minutes, every outlet was running with it. The evidence spread across the internet like wildfire. Screenshots, downloads, people analyzing the numbers, tracing the money, connecting the dots. The news ticker updated. Independent verification confirms Park Yan-hee transactions to council members. Another one. Audio recording surfaces of alleged bribery discussion. They were playing the audio. Yan-hee's voice on every channel, her own words condemning her. Social media exploded. Jiwoo was right. Trending. My followers vindicated. The movement growing exponentially. We watched as journalist after journalist picked apart her corruption piece by piece. The story was too big to bury, too documented to dismiss, too public to ignore. FBI announces investigation into corruption allegations, the ticker read. I sat there watching my stepmother's empire crumble in real time. The woman who'd controlled my entire life, who'd owned judges and councils and officials, reduced to a scandal spreading across every screen in America. Chen's phone rang. She answered, listened. Her expression stayed carefully neutral. Understood, she said. I'll ask him. She hung up and looked at me. Federal prosecutor, they're offering you full immunity in exchange for testimony. They want you to come back voluntarily. Tell your story under oath. Come back, the words felt foreign. On your terms, protected, with immunity. You'd be a witness, not a fugitive. Chen's eyes were steady. But you'd have to face it all again. The media, the questions, Yan-hee. I looked at the TV, at the evidence scrolling across every screen, at the movement that had grown so big it didn't need me anymore. But it had started with me. My face, my story, my voice. The underworld had given me the evidence. Broken rules to expose truth when following rules only protected corruption. Now the system wanted me back. Wanted me to step into the light and finish what I'd started. I looked at Dae-hyun, at Jae-hyun, both watching me with expressions that said they'd support whatever I chose. I'd spent 24 years choosing silence and safety. I was done surviving. Tell them I'm coming, I said, and I'm ready to talk. Chen was gone when I woke up. Her room was empty. Laptop gone. No note. Just an absence where the woman with the gun had been. She left during the night, Dae-hyun said when I asked. Her job is done. Shouldn't we? The FBI won't look for her. Jae-hyun's voice was quiet. Pursuing her means digging into networks they can't handle. Easier to let her disappear. So that was it. The woman who'd saved us with armed men and illegal evidence had vanished like she'd never existed, part of an underworld that operated in spaces the legal system couldn't reach. 2 hours later, federal agents arrived with immunity agreements. I signed my name. Dae-hyun and Jae-hyun signed as witnesses. Just like that, We stopped being fugitives and became cooperating witnesses instead. The convoy back to Massachusetts felt like driving toward a reckoning. Federal vehicles ahead and behind, protection that felt more like a funeral procession. We arrived at the courthouse to chaos, thousands of people, signs everywhere. Justice for Jiwoo. End PAC corruption. We believe survivors. The movement had grown so large it didn't fit on the courthouse steps anymore. It spilled into streets, blocked traffic, made news helicopters circle overhead. Federal agents cleared a path through the crowd. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. I kept my head down and let them guide me inside. The prosecutors briefed me in a windowless room. What they'd ask, how to answer, what evidence they had. Financial records verified independently, audio recordings authenticated, council members already flipping to save themselves. Park Yeon-hee will be in the courtroom, the lead prosecutor said. She has the right to face her accuser. Can you handle that? I thought about the blade touching my neck, about 24 years of her voice in my head, about every time she'd made me believe I was nothing. Yes, I said, I can handle it. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled, media section overflowing. And there at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit with restraints on her wrists sat Yeon-hee. She looked smaller somehow, diminished, but her eyes were the same, cold, calculating, hating me for existing. I took the stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor started gentle. Please state your name for the record. Park Ji-woo. And what is your relationship to the defendant? She's my stepmother. Was, is. The verb tense felt wrong either way. Tell us about your childhood, Ji-woo. So I did. All of it. The suppressants that made me sick. The medical care she denied. The isolation. The way she made me believe my face made me worthless. 24 years of systematic destruction laid out in clinical detail. Yeon-hee's lawyer objected twice. Both times the judge overruled. The prosecutors showed financial records, played audio recordings. Yeon-hee's own voice discussing bribes, planning my hearing, buying officials. Every piece of evidence corroborating what I just testified. Cross-examination tried to break me. Yeon-hee's public defender asked the same questions in different ways, looking for contradictions. I held firm. The truth didn't change no matter how he phrased it. Dae-hyun testified next, described finding me at the disposal ceremony, the evidence of abuse, my condition when they took custody, how the bond formed naturally, consensually, with no coercion. Jae-hyun corroborated everything, explained our investigation into Yeon-hee's crimes, how we documented her corruption for months before it all came to a head. The trial lasted 2 days, witness after witness, council members who'd accepted bribes testifying against her to reduce their own sentences, financial experts tracking money, medical professionals explaining what prolonged suppressant use does to an omega's body. The prosecutor's closing argument was devastating. This woman didn't just abuse her stepson, she corrupted an entire system to continue that abuse. She bought judges, paid officials, manufactured evidence, all to maintain control over one omega she'd spent 24 years breaking down. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood. On all counts, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted. The judge's gavel cracked for silence. Yeon-hee sat perfectly still. Her face was a mask, but I could see her hands shaking in the restraints. The judge didn't pause, didn't give her time to process, just moved directly into sentencing. This court has rarely seen corruption so extensive or abuse so calculated, he said, looking directly at Yeon-hee. You systematically destroyed a child in your care while using your wealth and connections to ensure no one could stop you. You corrupted officials sworn to protect the vulnerable. You manufactured evidence. You attempted to forcibly sever a legitimate bond to regain control over your victim. His voice hardened. On the charges of child abuse, medical neglect, embezzlement, bribery of public officials, conspiracy, and attempted fraudulent bond dissolution, you are sentenced to life in federal prison without possibility of parole. Life without parole. She'd die in prison. That's when Yeon-hee finally broke. She lunged forward against the restraints, screaming, "He was nothing. I made him. Everything he has, I gave him. He'll always be the ugly, worthless thing I created." The bailiffs grabbed her. She fought like a wild animal, still screaming, "You'll never escape me. I'll always be in your head. You'll always be—" They dragged her toward the door. She twisted back, eyes locked on mine with pure hatred. "Mine!" The door slammed shut. Her voice cut off. Silence filled the courtroom. I sat there trying to feel something. Relief, victory, anything. But I just felt empty. Like I'd been holding my breath for 24 years and suddenly didn't remember how to breathe normally. Outside, the crowd roared. They'd been watching on screens, celebrating, justice served, victory won. The prosecutors shook my hand, thanked me for my testimony, said I'd helped expose corruption beyond just my case, that Omega protection laws would change because of this. Daehyun and Jaehyun flanked me as we left the courthouse. The crowd parted. People cheered, held signs with my name. Cameras captured everything. A reporter thrust a microphone toward me. "Ji-woo, how do you feel? What do you want to say to everyone who supported you?" I opened my mouth, closed it. For 24 years, Yeon-hee had controlled every word. For 3 months, I'd fought to have a voice loud enough to matter. I'd built a platform, started a movement, changed laws. And now, standing in front of thousands of people who wanted to hear what I had to say, I realized I didn't know who I was without her to fight against. Yeon-hee was gone forever, locked away where she couldn't hurt anyone. But I'd spent my entire life surviving her, being defined by her abuse, fighting her control. Who was Park Ji-woo when he wasn't a victim anymore? The end, Yeon-hee's in prison for life. The twins are safe. Justice finally won. But Ji-woo spent 24 years being told he was worthless. Can he finally believe he's not? Can someone who survived that much darkness actually find peace? If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you think he'll ever truly be free.